rotate your phone. Oh, you can't. Oh, you know why? Because, shit, so we're going to have to squeeze him.
Yep.
Because when she comes in, oh, we're live. Hi.
Oh, so we can't see
everyone. She's going to pop in and it'll say that she's here.
Okay.
And then she'll put a request to join me live.
I see.
But it won't let us turn it this way because she's going to end up on half the screen, right?
Makes sense.
Hello, everyone. I'm Angie, and I've got Julie here with me, and we're just going to wait a little bit for Natalie to get on live. But I'm really excited about today's conversation, and I'm so excited that Julie happens to be here for this conversation because this is totally her jam. But we'll be talking about how clutter impacts our energy and what are the things that we can do to support our energy, because we're parents, we're moms, and we could use all the energy that we need, right? For ourselves, for our families, and for the world. Really. So yeah, it's funny, the timing too, that Natalie chose this topic, and the timing was pretty awesome because I'd literally just done a whole bunch of decluttering this weekend in our basement, and it feels so good. Like, I was making a comment to Kyle. I walked down there to do laundry just the other day, and I can only see a little section of the basement when I walk into the basement, but as I started to go down the stairs, I could feel the space down there, even though I could only see this little piece. Hi, Natalie. She's here. Bring them onto camera. So it's an amazing experience, though, to feel how spacious it was without seeing it.
Oh,
you know? I know you know.
I know it.
Hey, Natalie.
Hi. Hi, Julie. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good.
I'm excited.
I'm so happy you can join us today.
I didn't hear that.
I know, I can't get the sound louder. Sorry. Oh, whoops. Putting my fingers. There we go. Hold on. Let me see if I can move it closer. We're trying to, I couldn't turn my phone sideways because we're on the screen like this, so it wouldn't allow me to turn my phone sideways.
Oh, otherwise you would look sideways to us, right?
Yeah.
That could be amusing.
It could.
Yeah.
So we were starting the conversation. I was just talking about, we just decluttered, that in our basement. And the other day when I went to walk down there, I just went to walk down the first step, and I don't maybe because I know it's clear down there, I could feel it already. It felt so good. I didn't feel this sense of dread of walking into my basement. Instead, I felt this sense of openness and excitement at walking into my basement, and that was so nice.
Yeah. I mean, clutter is so, there's just with clutter, it's like old stagnant energy, just like that one concept, and then it causes you stress, and then you're freaking out about it because it's been like this for I don't know how many years, and it also causes other people's stress, right? And then maybe you're harping on people, clean up your bedroom.
Trying to control.
My video the other day, I was just like, oh my god, my daughter's room was. It's still it's better, but then after Halloween, now there's candy wrappers everywhere. God, eat at the table, right?
Can I share something about my experience today with that? So I am big on having the energy in my space being maintained. And I have a son who likes to spread out everywhere, and I'm very similar. I like to spread out when I do things, but then I like it cleaned back up. I'm okay with him spreading out. Just please put it back when you're done. So today he had stuff all over the place, and what I ended up doing finally after years of getting frustrated and overwhelmed and repeating myself over and over is to say, okay, you have a time limit to clean this up, because I have to come in and wipe everything down and sweep the floor, and I don't want to pick up all your things. I want you to pick them up first. So I would give him a time, and if it wasn't complete in that amount of time, anything that he was unable to maintain, I took away. So now this goes away for a period of time until you're able to manage your items, because you have too many items to manage at this point. So we went through that again today. I said, you know what, you have this time to clean it up. If not, I'm taking it away for an extended period of time because I love my space and not having to repeat myself.
I love what you said there about not having too many things to manage. That's not, do you know what I mean? It's not shameful. It's not like, you know, you make such a mess. Like, you know, instead it's like, look, there's too many things for you to manage, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But since there's too many things to manage, we're going to take away this item for a while to see how you manage with these other things, right? That's kind of a cool strategy.
Right. It's worked very well. I don't know how long ago I adopted it, but it's worked very well. And it's similar with our own items. Like, again, I like to have clear spaces to be able to bring in the new, right? But I don't want to get rid of all my items, so I can store them away and exchange them, you know, as they become functional in my space or unfunctional, I will remove them from my space and then bring in what's needed at the moment. So it's very helpful.
Yeah, I really like that strategy of that kind of cycling through items, right? Yeah, especially nowadays. I mean, we live in a society where it's like you need all this stuff. I mean, people have like second mortgages on storage units. I'm like, that's insane. You have like a whole other household of stuff in the storage, right? Like that, but that's like kind of the mentality of we need more stuff. And it's like, if people would start taking on that strategy, Julie, of, okay, there's way too much stuff. Let's put some in the storage. Let's put some away, see how it goes. And then, I mean, after a while, you realize, like, I don't need this, you know, I don't know, the blender from the 1960s.
Yes. I'm big
Although
on
maybe keep the blender from the 1960s and drop the 2021 because 1960s technology is way better.
Bring up blender because I literally have 2 blenders in my house right now, but it is, and they're both in the kitchen, but it is because my husband does not want to let go of the old blender, and I have a pampered chef blender. There's no way I'm getting rid of that. It's a cooking blender.
That's so funny. Well, that was a message for you, Julie. I don't know where it came from, but
that's true. And
we'll figure it out.
And I think even like, so one thing I've tried, so I mean, I've known about this strategy for a while, but it was the way you phrased it about managing your items,
right,
that really spoke to me there. So I love that. But one thing I find, so how do you, and I guess the question is for you, how do you manage that flow of putting it away and then remembering it, and you know what I mean?
Right.
Then it just getting put away and then lost in the corner to add up as clutter.
Okay, so
how do you bring it back into the mix?
My system, and especially with the toys, because you know with the toys and the kids' items, and they're sentimental, and you can't just get rid of them, and you can't just donate them.
I have already learned that. Yeah.
Right. So the cycle with those and other items are to have totes that I have labeled, right? So it's like, okay, here is all unorganized toys, or here is all the Ninja Turtles, but they're put away, stacked nicely. I have limited space in my basement to store stuff, right? So if I'm going to store more and I don't have that space, well, guess what we have to do? We have to release some items because we don't have enough space for all of these items.
We can't manage all of these items.
I literally cycle through, I will cycle through and we will donate. And if it's their items, they choose what's donated. I don't choose for them. Although it is much easier for me to separate what I think they would like to donate and have them go through that. But sometimes they go through all of them. So it's the same with my own items. I guess mainly it's seasonal and, you know, holiday stuff that gets cycled through. And most other stuff, like I said, I've found we don't need to hold on to it. Like I've held on to it for so long that eventually when I come back to it, I'm like, no, don't need that 1920s blender. So that's kind of my system.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, as you're talking about it, I guess I do it. I haven't thought about applying it. I have a really great system with clothes.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this with the girls. Like, we get so many clothes, right, for the girls. We get tons of great clothes. And so I keep them, I gather them. I have a closet where I keep it all. And what happens is twice a year I go through it. So before the spring and summer, and then before fall and winter. So I just went through it, and we have one bin where it's like really great clothes, right? That don't fit them. They're too big when we get them. So they usually go in there. And we just went through it. And when I went through it, we took everything out of their closet that they no longer need, separated what was too stained to give away, right? And then the other we donate, right? And so we have a bin on our porch, and we put that into the bin. And then I go through all the new clothes, and Leah has a whole new wardrobe.
Isn't it amazing?
Right?
I have
Leah has a whole new fall wardrobe, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing, right? And then I get a chance to go through the stuff we're keeping too, and some of it I let go of.
Right.
Because some of it I'm like, oh, why am I keeping this? I'm not really sure, right? So we'll let go of some of that, and then we let go of everything that was in there and rotate it. And that's been working really great for me for years. But I have to apply that then to everything else.
Right. So I love that you mentioned donation too, because of course donating is amazing. And I know it's easier for me if I know someone's going to love and cherish that item rather than have it in the basement where no one's seeing it and touching it. And I'm just wasting my time and energy moving it every time I need something. Right?
And getting mad and frustrated.
Exactly. Like even the stored away stuff takes our time and energy. It takes our time and energy. So that's another thing that I like to remember. Is this worth my time and energy or not? It's really rephrasing a lot of things, because I would have called myself an organized hoarder. I have before. I had so many items and so many things. Moving into a smaller house, I kind of had to downsize. And that was kind of the beginning of really learning the value of space, right? Of having that space.
Yeah.
I didn't have an option, but now I'm so grateful that I learned that and went through that.
Yeah. Bianca, hi ladies. Yes, I've done a huge clean out. Still working on my basement. Oh man. Bianca, I feel so good though, the basement. Feels so good.
That just reminds me of something. If anyone's familiar with Feng Shui and the art of creating a healthy energy flow in our environment, the basement actually, I know for myself and a lot of people, it seems like can be one of the last places to work on. And when you relate it to Feng Shui, that is your past. So every time I'm down there cleaning my basement and getting it even better, I'm just feeling like I'm releasing from the past stuff that I no longer need. So if you look at your house and if you have an attic and a main floor and a basement, your attic is your future, your main floor is your present, and your basement is your past. So
Yeah, that's cool.
I always find it interesting. I find it interesting as I'm going through my house and what I do, and even in my daily routines,
And the past
how I can tell, you know, what I'm working on. For example, like when I'm getting ready in the morning and when my bedroom is clean and made and my windows are open upstairs, I feel I have a very clear head, you know, and it just, I can flow through the rest of my day with ease. And in the main floor, if the main floor is cleaned and cleared, I can flow through my day, my present day with ease.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's very interesting.
It is, yeah. And yeah, and that's really interesting. The stuff in the basement relates to the past, and that's so true, because that's where a lot of we just store our stuff, right? Whether that's holiday stuff or clothes that the kids are still cycling through. Yeah, I mean, we have a crawl space, which makes it kind of a bit more challenging to clean up, because you literally have to sit on your bum cross-legged, otherwise you're hitting the ceiling. But yeah, and it's interesting, the concept too of even just like the energy that's held in that item is and really, like when we release it, it can really help us too, especially like hand-me-downs or you know, my mom always loves sharing her stuff with me, which is, I'm very grateful that she's that generous, but also like it when you kind of bring in items from other homes, you're also bringing in that energy from that household too. So sometimes you're just looking
their
for
energy.
like, okay, like how many pot holders do I really need? Do I really want Christmas themed ones? Like, for the love of God, I don't.
Do I use
You know,
pot holder?
yeah, exactly, right? So releasing that, so there's like the physical release of, okay, I don't have like 50 bags of whatever, but also like the non-physical release of like, just like you clear out that energy, right? So yeah, you create more space literally and figuratively as well, right? Just makes you feel lighter.
Yeah. Oh yes, and brings more energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, even
Sorry.
just looking around, if it's not and cluttered, you have more energy.
Yeah, that's one thing I like that you said. I noticed, Bianca said, I've never thought about that, but that really resonates. And that's it. That's why we're having these conversations. So thank you for tuning in, Bianca, because it's so nice to just have these conversations and hear all the different perspectives and different ways of looking at this, right? And I love what you said was like, is it worth my time and energy? Like, even like, especially when we put it in the basement, it's the past. Like, why are we actually putting it in there? Are we putting it in there just to hold on to the past? Because we know holding on to the past isn't serving us, right? And so one day we're going to use our energy to go back to that item.
Yeah.
And do we want to use that time and energy? We might not, right? In fact, most of the time I find a lot of people resent it, right? We resent that we were holding on to this thing and like now it's water damaged, now it smells moldy, and like now I have to pay to get rid of it sometimes because we did dump runs, right? It was $70 to get rid of all this stuff. Like, and then we have tons to donate, right? And so, yeah, you have to wonder about that, right? Each time. And I guess the other piece I wanted to talk about was the universal law of vacuum, right? And so one of the reasons why I'm so excited this time, because I've cleared out my basement before and it has felt good, but look at what happened. It ended up back in the state it was. And that is because the universal law of vacuum says whenever you create space, the universe just fills it. It's the universal law. It fills it, but it will fill it with the same resonance, same frequency of what left. If you don't shift the energy, if you don't transmute and be intentional about the energy you want to call in now to this new space.
Makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. And it can be as simple as setting an intention. Like that can sound overwhelming to some people if you don't know about universal law, right? But it can be as simple as like my daughter's desk, for example. She was complaining because people keep throwing stuff on top of her desk and then it gets cluttered, right? So let's take it down to a little small space. And so I said to her, okay, so I'm sorry that keeps happening, right? We're all doing it. No one person is guilty of it, right? Because the universal law, it'll just fill it back up, right? It thinks it wants to be filled. But I told her to be intentional. I said, what do you want your desk space to be like? And she's like, I just want to have my school books here. And I just want to have like these certain things along the edge. And I want to have my pencils up here. Since she claimed that, because I told her, I said, okay, so that is the intention. And I want you to imagine that, like, that's the space you want, right? And I said, what will you do when the space is like that? I'll use it. Or I'll display my art that I create on it, right? Things that I create. And I said, okay, that's cool. Since then, it has stayed uncluttered.
Amazing how the intention can.
And I mean, we're cleaning it up. Like, we're the reason it's not getting cluttered, but that's universal energy working through us, right? Like we see it and we all know in the house what her intention is with that space. So when we see that something is starting to build up on her space, all of us will take it off.
It's just reminds me of my home, and when it starts to get a little messy or cluttered, or I start leaving things somewhere, I notice everybody else starts doing the same thing too. And it's really funny how having your space cleaned and cleared, there's almost like a respect that people give it without even knowing, right?
Yeah.
Because if you walk into
they don't realize it.
space, hide your garbage somewhere in that mess or your mess within that mess. But if it's clean and clear, it's almost like a respect is given.
It's like my office.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, this office, although it gets a little cluttered, same thing. I made a very intentional space out of this. And Bianca, she loves this conversation. Oh, what
Yeah,
does
and
she
I
say?
like how,
Oh, hard to part with something.
Sorry, Natalie. Bianca sent up a message just as you were talking. Not sure if mentioned, but it's hard to part with something that has served its purpose. Thanking it before
Yeah.
releasing
Oh, I
helps
love that.
immensely. Beautiful.
I
Thank you,
love doing
Bianca.
that. I love doing that and being thankful that I'm able to share this with someone else now as well,
Yeah.
so that they can really enjoy and love this item
Just
as
the
I
way
did,
it
even
did.
though it no longer serves us or me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Natalie, you were going to speak.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I really like how you brought up Julie, and Angie too, like putting that intention in of, so for me it was the kitchen, right? Nobody was cleaning up the kitchen, and we're just, people get in the habit, especially parents get in the habit of kind of nagging people, like, clean up your dishes, clean up after yourself, like, empty out the dishwasher, blah, 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 blah. But that's not effective. But what actually is effective is just you doing it. And don't even mention that you're doing it, right? Don't even mention that you're cleaning up, because again, that's nagging, that's bringing in like a lower vibration. So if I just do my part, and I rinse my plate, and my bowl and whatever, after I'm done, I put it in the dishwasher. I see the dishwasher needs to be put on, I put it on. I do all those things, kind of quietly, and not having, like, doing it gratefully, right? Not having that energy of like, like, F bomb, I'm the only one who ever does this. Because that's again, that's lower vibrations, that's lower frequencies. So if you just do it gratefully and you do it just your own, and again, don't mention it to anybody, don't mention that you're doing this,
Yeah, doing it for
then they
praise, not
start doing
doing
it too.
it.
They don't even realize it. And my husband the other day, he's like, this place is so clean now. And I'm like, trying not to like giggle. I'm like, yeah.
I know.
Tricked you.
And that's why
Right?
we have
It's
these
kind of like,
conversations. Oh my
but it's
god.
keeping that in mind, right? Of, again, and we're so programmed, or we just see everywhere that, like, oh, wife or mom or whatever equals nagging, right? But it doesn't. We can change that story, and when we change it, it changes the whole story, right? And that's such like a small, simple example of what goes on internally affects everything externally, even like the relationships and stuff you have with people. And it starts with just like wiping up a counter. This stuff doesn't have to be
Yeah.
complicated, right? We just overthink everything, right?
Yeah, because when we talk about clutter, that's what I love about it. Like, we talk about clutter, we go right away to the big deal of clutter in the whole house. That's overwhelming, and then yeah, we do shut down. But you're right. It starts as a simple thing like the desk. You know what I mean? Start with one thing in your home that you would like to see uncluttered. You have a vision for it not being cluttered, and use that to be intentional with. Or like if you live in a household with a family. Julie and I have had this conversation. I love that you brought it up, Natalie, like about doing it gratefully.
Oh, yeah.
Like because when we do it in love that way, they feel it. They feel it. If you do it and you're just like, oh, these guys don't know how to clean, and you just clean, so you clean the whole space, it looks great, but you did it in like resentment and anger and frustration, then it's not going to make them do it again in the future. They're going to feel the anger, the frustration, the resentment.
There's so many things that you guys brought up that
Like all the things.
I know, like, there's so many things. I love it all. But Natalie, you brought up being the example, like just going and doing it yourself and not trying to control what everyone else is doing. And yes, doing it gratefully, because what we're sending out is what we're receiving. So if I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is something I've had to catch myself like within the past month or so doing, like, oh, I just love picking up your stuff. This is great. Oh, that's beautiful. And this is what I'm sending out into the world, that I want more of it.
I want more. I want more.
Stop.
Yeah,
Stop. So really being the example, and a way that I clean my items, like clean my space with love. I'm very intentional about my space every single day, but I put on music that I love, and I sing and I dance. And that just gets the energy going. Even if I'm not in the mood to do it, putting that music on gets me going, puts me in the right mindset. So then I'm not sitting there like, this stinks, you know, because I want to be bringing in the love, bringing in the healthy energy flow. I don't want to be bringing in, you know, anger and frustration, even if it's clear and I'm bringing all of that intentional anger and frustration into my space. It's not going to feel comfortable, right? So.
Yeah. Again, like our world is 50-50, right? 50% of what we see and the other 50% we don't see. So like, again, those emotions, that energy that we bring in, right?
It's huge.
And that's the big shift happening in the world we're experiencing, but it's so new for some people to think of, like, you know what I mean? There's this seen and unseen world, like, and there is stuff going on in the unseen, and we're creating it. Like, we're creating that, you know, and when you don't know that, you have no idea.
We're doing it consciously or unconsciously, whether we know it or not, we're doing it unconsciously, right?
Yeah.
So.
And when you start doing it consciously and then you catch yourself, like you said, like, you know, being a bit sarcastic about it, like, oh, great, I get to pick up everybody's plates on the dinner table. Then you catch yourself, you're like, oh, no, like, scrub that out of the universe. I didn't mean that, right? Because you're so aware of what you're thinking. And then when you consciously manifest something, when you consciously create something that you don't like, you're just like, okay, hashtag win, except like, oh, crap, right?
It's reverse delete.
It's reverse, yeah. Uncreate. That's what I say when I notice it, because I'll do that with the kids. I was going to do that. They had their candy everywhere, right? And Julie and the boys were coming, and it was like, it's a 3-year-old, right? It's Leah. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to fight with her, right? And I was like sort of irritated, but then I was like, I'm choosing, I don't want to fight with her about this, so I'm going to clean it up with love for her. And so I cleaned it up, and the energy I brought into it was playful, like, oh, let's see what she got, you know?
Right.
And then it was like, oh, she got some of my favorites, she got this, oh my gosh, she's gonna love these, you know? And then I put it away in that way, and it felt so much better for me. I walked away, no resentment, right? And you know, she didn't have to deal with me nagging at her and constantly bugging her, because, you know,
I love that you brought that up, because with, you know, young kids, it's so huge when it comes to cleanup. We don't want to make it an argument and a struggle and this is not fun. We want to be showing them that we love our items, we care for our items, they're exciting, you know, and putting them away. And often, you know, in preschool and kindergarten, we're putting on music and singing a song, and that's just what I do in my daily life now too. So just setting that example as well. When they're too young to do it all themselves, you're setting the example, and then they can help and learn.
Well, you're saying that because they do that in school. You did it when the girls were with you, right? Like, you play music for them. And it's true. We always say, like, you know, why are they better behaved at school than here or something, or at someone else's house, right? But you're making it fun. I'm not making it fun for them.
Right. And those little things that, you know, you may not be conscious of in your that are happening somewhere else.
Yeah.
But that we can easily do our home, right?
Yeah, we can. The girls are way more cooperative with cleaning. When we put on Kids Bop, they love Kids Bop, and that gets.
Oh my gosh, that was my first one. Remember?
Yes, I know. That's how you discovered you love Kids Bop.
I know. The 2 albums, anyway, they're fantastic. I think it's 26 and 27.
Yeah,
check them out.
That's funny. I actually really like Kids Bop too. We listen to it on weekend mornings.
Yeah. Some of the songs, even because I knew them from Kids Bop first, I'd hear the real version. I'm like, I think I like the Kids Bop better.
Oh, I see Ashley's watching. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
I gotta keep track of time. Okay, 2:30. Last time these conversations, like we could talk about this stuff forever. So like last time it was like 10 after 3. I was like, oh.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about was respecting space. So that's another thing that I like to set an example for, is just respecting a space as well. And I didn't know. My brain's kind of saying a couple different things right now. It's like, how do you want to say this exactly? But showing respect for a space and being that example for the kids so that they can follow that example as well. But also letting them know, like, so for example, if it's my desk space, let them know that I want them to respect this space and I don't want you to put your items on here. So if you do, I may just take them and put them away from you because I've asked you to respect this space.
So setting a boundary.
The boundary, that's the healthy boundary. That's
the loving, healthy boundary.
Exactly. It's not like I'm just going to grab the stuff and take it away from you. I've let you know, you've had your warning about it. And
I think it's important, sorry, I didn't mean to cut
ahead.
you off. I think it's important then as a parent too, that when you've set the boundary now, you've set the healthy, loving boundary of this is how you want this space, right? And then if somebody puts something on that space, you've set the boundary of what will happen. And then it's important for us, I think, as a conscious parent, when it happens, that we don't nag them.
Right.
We just take the step that we said that we would take.
Clear, consistent consequences.
Yes,
this is when it comes to parenting altogether, it's clear, consistent consequences. And I find when I keep giving too many reminders all the time, it just brings us into this downward cycle. Because I'm not holding up my end. It's not necessarily that they're doing something wrong.
We're projecting it out to them, though.
Exactly. Like you're not doing
this. We need to shame you again for leaving your thing here.
Right. But no.
But that wasn't the point.
I set a healthy boundary, and I have not followed through with my part of actually taking it and putting it away so that we could all learn a lesson and experience it together, right? And even, I may be willing to say, oh, can you pick this up if they're sitting right here, and give them that one chance. But if it's not done, I'll put it away. Or if they're not around and I need it cleaned, well, it goes away. It's being respectful too. Respect, that's probably the number one word in my house. Love and respect are the two number one words in my house.
Yeah. And that's a loving way to do it too, is before, instead of nagging them, give them an opportunity to move the item. Just be like, hey, your books are here on my desk. Do you want to move these? And then if they don't, then you just take your action. You don't need to say anything, right? You just take the action.
Yeah, don't get it.
That's interesting. I like all that's going through my head is like, how can I implement? I know these things, but I don't. Sorry, go on, Natalie. There's a lag, so. Oh no.
We may have lost.
Oh no, did we lose you? No.
Hopefully you can come back.
Oh, there I am again.
Oh.
I really love your system, Julie, because especially with kids, there's just so much stuff sometimes, right? So cycling through toys and everything. And I mean, I'm lucky that my kids are kind of at the point now where they really like the idea of gift cards and cash, because then they can go to the store and they can pick their own item, or so there's less like unwanted toys, or sometimes they get Jackson, please. How sometimes do you want to sit next to me? Sometimes you get toys from relatives and it's like they don't really like it, or they'll play with it for a sec and then it kind of gets tossed off in the corner, as if they go to the store and they actually purchase it, odds are they're going to play with it a lot longer, right? Because it's something that they really like and they remember that experience. No.
Right. It does make a big difference when they actually. Jackson, is it? Hi, Jackson. I think I see a really close up of your finger.
It looks like a nice healthy color.
Yeah, so it reminds me of my husband. He would enjoy going out and buying things for the kids, but like he would bring them to the dollar store and they'd come home with this bag of stuff that was like 75% recycling and 25% stuff that will be broken by the end of the day. It was so overwhelming to me. And like you spoke about, all of these items hold energy within them as well. So I started actually having a space where I could bring in items that were coming into our home, and they would stay there until they were ready to be properly incorporated into our home, so it wasn't becoming overwhelming. So just like we have outgoing stations, which I'm huge on, making sure we have our garbage, recycling, food garbage donation set up. There's also an incoming that we leave it in a space until we're ready to love it and respect it and care for it in our home, rather than just having it all come in. But with the, thankfully, they've learned and they're no longer buying dollar store stuff because it gets broken and just becomes a mess in a heartbeat. So now they've kind of learned that if we spend our money, take a little bit more time, spend our money on quality and something we're going to love, it'll last us a lot longer. You want to go behind? So yeah, having definitely, and my mother-in-law, when she passed away, and then my father-in-law moved, we got like 2 truckloads full of stuff into our little house. Yeah. But
horror. I love the horror.
I know.
Straight to Goodwill, please.
Okay, so for me, I am, like I said, I was an organized hoarder before, and she was a woman who knew Feng Shui and lived Feng Shui. The energy in her space was amazing. Her items were amazing. So I couldn't imagine just getting rid of them all, right? So I did. I went through every single item and I donated. I tried to find people who would love them too first. I love finding people in my own life that will enjoy these items. But if I can't, then they go to donation. And I was going to Good Shepherd most of the time, and I received so much valuable knowledge and so many good things through Good Shepherd and the work that they do in the community for free. Like I took programs and all kinds. So I was really grateful to give back to them. And it makes giving those beautiful items just joyful instead of like heartbreaking or sad. So I went through all her things and then, you know, had a bunch stored away again. There's no way I had room for everything in my space. So I went through the cycle again, going through all the items and releasing what wasn't going to serve us and only keeping the items that really we would value and cherish and use.
One of the things, an experience I had when we were decluttering, Kyle's parents were helping us. And his mom is learning actually about, I got to share actually a little bit about my energetic understanding of decluttering, and she's been really doing it. And she's a hoarder and organized hoarder.
Yeah,
so that's what you said. But she kept trying to get me to hold on to Kyle's things. Every time we found things, it would be hard for her to like, and I had to set a loving boundary with her of just, because she kept saying like, but that's a perfectly good vest. And I was like, Shirley, I'm like, he has 8 jackets, you know? And I was like, he doesn't even know, he didn't even know this vest was in the basement, right? And so he came down and then she said that, she's like, Kyle, I can wash it for you. And I was like, no, that's not what it's about, right? And we both literally said, we have to be realistic with ourselves. We're not going to touch it. He's not going to touch it. And he said that. He's like, Mom, I'm not going to wear it. I wore this like in my 20s. So, like, I'm not going to wear it.
Yeah.
You know, and so he's like, it's perfectly good to donate. And we had to keep doing that with her. I had to keep saying it to her. She would say, but you could use this. And I said, realistically, I won't. So I'm going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's really switching that mind frame, right? Yeah. Switching that mind frame from like, this has value, so I need to hold on to it.
Yes.
To
it doesn't have value for me.
Right. It has value, although it's not useful for me in my life. So I would love to share that with someone who will love it and get good use out of it, rather than I'll hold on to it just because maybe, I used to.
Or just because you think it's valuable for me.
Right.
Because that's the thing. Like she kept saying, like,
Yeah.
she kept trying to convince me how it's valuable. And I said, Shirley, I'm like, honestly, for me, I won't touch it. So it's gonna go. And she didn't like it, but I was like, well, you don't like it, I won't touch it. So I'm not gonna keep it.
Your time and energy is more valuable.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And and it's funny because a couple of times I said, well, if I said that does sound valuable. I'm like, do you want it? She's like, no, I don't want it. Well, I don't want it.
It's a really interesting concept how other people will want to hold on to things. It reminds me of gifts. And like so many people feel they need to hold on to a gift because it was a gift. We don't really have to. We can gift it to somebody else who will love it and who has room for it in their space, right?
Yeah, how many people hold on to gifts? I had a candle set down there that I have never used. It was a gift that was given to me. That's the only reason I held on to it. I haven't even opened the box.
Yeah.
And somebody could have been using it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just this mentality of like, I need to hold on to it, right? Just like holding on to stuff that's happened in the past. As humans, we need to learn to just, I mean, it's okay to let it go, you know, whether that's a physical item or, you know, like a past experience. It's okay to let it go because it's not actually you, you know, it's just in your surroundings.
Yeah. And how somebody, here's another layer to it, is how somebody else feels about that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Like how the person that gave you the gift might feel that you let go of it, because that's why you're holding on to it. You're holding on to it because you feel bad because this person bought the thing for you, right? But perhaps their lesson in it is to maybe consult the people that you're going to buy for. Maybe don't buy, you know what I mean? Like maybe there's a lesson for them in it and it's not ours to take on.
Right.
So we don't need to feel bad.
Right. And you just made me think like we're holding because we feel bad. Like, do you want to hold on to feeling bad?
No.
Right? And like
that's the energy that's stored in the basement.
Right. And like you said, that, you know, if someone does feel bad about something that we do, it never is our problem.
It doesn't have anything
right?
to
When
do
I'm
with
pointing the finger at somebody else saying, you did something that made me feel bad, well, it's the look with making me uncomfortable, just like the video we made about triggers. Right? That is where we step into our own personal power when we're feeling these discomfort, this discomfort. If we are willing to sit with that and make a choice, a conscious choice about it, then we're able to rather than pointing the finger and
this is my new lesson lately, but the drama triangle. I don't even need to tell the person I've done that.
Right, exactly.
I don't need to tell, like the experience has already occurred. The experience that the joy that they wanted in giving me the gift has already occurred, right? The joy of being thought of and receiving that love has already occurred
and is within you.
And now it is yours to do whatever you want with it.
Exactly.
Which will bring you joy. Like me
and
sharing it with another person in love, that's the joy being spread. So when we talk about energy, we're talking about energy, right? There's this physical gift, but we're talking about the energy. The energy lives on. The energy is now it's my gift. This exchange has already happened. This beautiful exchange of energy and a physical item has already occurred. And now I'm going to carry it even more forward. And I guess the invitation to everyone, who's listening to this, is, can you look at it that way? Can you look at it energetically? And in the now moment, when you're going to go give that gift now to someone else, instead of focusing on, oh, I feel bad that I'm giving this gift, and you feel shame and you feel guilt, can you transmit it to like, I get to share that love that I received in that experience, and I get to move that forward to someone else.
Such a huge difference.
What a beautiful, like, you know, it's a beautiful energy.
It's impactful. It's bringing in loving energy rather than bringing in what was the word that you used? Or keep holding on to that item
I don't know what
out of guilt or
out of shame, guilt,
I forget what word we
obligation. I don't even know.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's switching that whole energetic field to love and gratitude and giving. Like, it's such a huge difference than just holding on to it in a closet because you feel you should.
Yeah.
Right.
What about, here's a question for you guys, like, what about when you give someone a gift? Do you have any expectation of that person with the gift? I don't.
No, I never even thought of that, actually.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe before
I just hope
did.
that they love it Yeah. I just pray that they love and enjoy the gift, and yeah, if they do not, that they can share that love with somebody else. I wouldn't want someone to hold on to a gift from me and every look at it and think about it, they're like, oh, why am I even holding on to this? Because Julie might feel bad if she ever found out that I gave it away. You know, it's these stories that we make up. Ah! There's a scary mask in here. Here, you want to come and show the camera? You just scared me.
Whoa.
Oh,
I love that mask.
I love you. That was fantastic. Thank you, Leah.
She wanted to bring it to your house yesterday to scare you.
Oh,
But
really?
She was so upset in the car, she forgot it.
Now you got to scare me today. That's exciting. She's going to scare the boys now.
Squeezed by you again.
Yeah, so in thinking of that, I love that question, Angie, because, you know, when I give someone a gift, I really would not want them to be holding on to it and feeling obligation and feeling, you know, and it cluttering their space.
Yeah.
I would much rather them share that love with somebody else who will enjoy it.
Yeah, wouldn't you hate, like, I would hate to know that too, that energy is sitting heavy on that person and they hold on to it and it's adding and contributing to the heavy energy in their basement or whatever storage place they have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd much rather them share it with someone who's going to love it. But I was just saying, like, how it's the stories that we create in our head, like, you know, we're making
We think
everything is
about
stories
us.
that we tell ourselves, right? Maybe they're not sponsored by. This broadcast is not sponsored by Nestle. But again, just I like your question too, Angie, because I mean, is it any of our business what that person, you know, if they like the gift or not? Like, it's not, right? And again, that's going into stepping out of our lane and worrying about what someone else is thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, probably just giving that gift with, you know, a loving intention of, you know, I hope they enjoy this gift. And I mean, you're giving it out of the goodness of your heart, right? Which I think is probably intention enough.
Yeah.
Not because it has to be their number one favorite thing that they must cherish every day of their life.
And if we are giving a gift in that way, then we need to consider, is that fair? That's the energy we're passing on, right? We're passing that energy on. And so can we look at gift giving in a new way, guys? Can we experience gift giving in an energetic way and let go of these stories and let go of the emotional attachments to the gift?
Be in the moment, enjoy the moment of giving the gift, and let it go.
And then that's it. Move on now.
Right.
You keep your time and your energy, and you move on.
Can I bring the topic back to? I was gonna say, I had a thought. Oh, thumbs up! I had a thought as we were talking about this, and we were talking about, you know, our children clearing the space and giving them the option. You have this amount of time, or I'm going to take your items away. And I was just relating this to my spouse. So this doesn't necessarily always work with a spouse, right? Because they have items they may need. You can't just take them away from them. You know, I'm taking this away for a month because even though we would love to at times, I found something very important when it came to creating the space. I was trying to control the space and use all the space for myself, actually. I didn't want my husband to have spaces in the house because I felt they were too messy and they didn't serve me, right? But I had to remember, I had to remember, okay, he needs space in this house, first of all. Second of all, I want to do it.
And you have to be okay with that.
Exactly. But I also want him to respect the space. I'm very lucky. I have a very clean and organized husband, although, you know, it's not all the time, just like all of us. So sometimes when he would have stuff around and it would be all over, and I really just wanted the space clean, but I wanted to do it in a loving and respectful way and not just take away his items or whatever. So I would get a box or a container and I would just put them all in that container, and then he still had them there. He could go through, but I could quickly move that around if I needed to, or clean it up, rather than having, 100 little items scattered all over. We have many containers now of his items that he barely ever looks at, but I've respected his items. I've respected that they're his and they do belong in our space as well, instead of just, hiding them away or taking them away.
Even if you don't like where they've chosen to put their space.
Right. And then I can also take that container and move it to a space that I'm comfortable with as well. It's releasing that
I like
control.
that. And then there's not a whole bunch of little stuff cluttering it, right?
Because there's lots of little stuff. All the little tools and the screws and the you name
it. Yeah, there's also the respect component of you're not trying to force your beliefs or anything on them. It's just, okay, I'm just putting your stuff, all your little stuff, in just a bigger container so that I can, I don't know, like walk into the bedroom or wherever that is happening, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I love how you recognize, like, that's an important piece of it, is that's what being conscious is, right? Is recognizing your action in it. And it's like, realistically, I wanted to control all the space. I didn't want him to use any of the space, right? And it's like, coming to that realization is really important. It's like, just love yourself. Like, I'm trying to control every piece of space in this house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so overwhelming to control, right? Like,
yeah, you can't.
No.
Yeah, so I bet that freed up, like, a lot, just coming into that acceptance of, like, wait a minute. Right. He can control the whole space. Like, exactly. He deserves to have space in his house.
It was very freeing and very, it was nice. It was like, wait, we are both here together. Yeah. Why should I occupy all of this? Because I think my stuff is prettier and more functional doesn't mean that I, need to take up all the space, right? And control all the space.
I think another thing I wanted to call in, just to bring up, is the idea of everything having a home. That's really helpful for children, I find. Everything has a home, like even the kids stuff. So that when they're cleaning, there's no, like, if everything doesn't have a home, that's overwhelming for children.
Oh, yeah.
You're telling them to clean, but they don't know where to put anything. They don't know. And then you're trying to manage them, and that's...
I feel that was my experience as a child.
That's why I love your idea of labeling your bins. Please. I love your idea of labeling the bins, Julie, because even if it's like really young kids that aren't, maybe they're 6 or under and they're not really reading yet, write like Ninja Turtles and then just print a picture of a Ninja Turtle, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and even I find with my own household items or my seasonal items and so on, if they're not labeled, I was going through every single container to find them,
energy spent.
wasting my time and energy.
Time and energy spent.
Exactly. Oh, but the funny thing, I actually, oftentimes I would label my containers and then my husband would go down and need to move them for something because we still had way too many, and then all the labels disappeared. So I had to go, I'd have to turn them all around. They were all over the place again, because originally I would start with just trying to group items together. But then he would move them around.
I'm going to have to drop off, guys, but I'll still watch them, okay?
Yeah.
We're at time here anyway. Thank you. This was such a great conversation, Natalie. Thanks for bringing this to the table. I love this conversation.
Yes, and I want to thank you too, Natalie, for allowing me to come on. And I absolutely had a fantastic time, because I think conscious parenting and Feng Shui, the art of healthy energy flow in environment, are two of my top priorities in life. So.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So I will write a post where you can find all of us, because all of us are doing some pretty awesome work in this world. And thank you guys for tuning in. And please share your own experiences, your own tips, your own strategies, your own challenges. We would love to hear.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye. Thank you. Love you.
Love you all too.